The story begins with a family crying around a coffin. They mourn a 17-year-old boy who died before he could finish his book. His father quietly praises him for achieving so much despite his struggles. In the end, they place the book in the coffin and leave the cemetery, hoping that in his next life he will become as powerful as the heroes in his stories. The scene shifts as he wakes up in a strange place, with a glowing circle above his head. A goddess explains that he is in the Hall of Reincarnation, where souls who met sudden deaths are sent to many worlds. She is shocked to learn that he already knows about reincarnation stories. Her surprise deepens when he begins to cry, then happily wipes his tears, saying he always dreamed of living such a life, but never believed it would truly happen. His joy over being reborn, even without dying dramatically, confuses and annoys her because of how strangely he reacts. When he eagerly asks about the powerful skill he will receive, she explains that everyone is given a divine blessing. At her direction, he sits on the blessing chair. A burst of light fills the room as jeweled boxes and a key fall before him. He gains the unlock skill, which lets him open sealed chests and remove curses from weapons. He becomes deeply disappointed with the useless skill, knowing it will not make him overpowered. Overwhelmed, he breaks down in tears and runs away. Later, he gloomily enters a laboratory, where a professor tells him about a dormant golem he discovered during his research, something he had never seen in his 20 years of study. The professor asks him to unlock it, as it is sealed by powerful magic. Although he is excited to hear about such a strong seal, he is confused, because a golem only obeys the one who awakens it. The professor simply smiles, saying he doesn't mind and only wants it freed for research. Excited by the chance to use his unlock power, he happily frees the golem. Since no scholar had ever studied such a golem before, releasing it felt like a great opportunity to prove himself. As the seal breaks, the golem rushes toward him. Before he can give it any orders, he is left speechless when the scholar suddenly attacks him. The blade passes through his body, and the scholar mocks him cruelly, explaining that if the one who awakens a golem dies before giving orders, the golem will obey anyone else. The golem introduces herself as Danchuariva, and the scholar steps forward to command her. At that moment, Phi gathers his remaining strength and shouts an order, declaring that he freed her and is her master, and commanding her to kill the scholar. The professor rushes forward to finish Phi off, but Danchuariva obeys her master's command and kills the professor instead. She then turns back to Phi to ask for her next order, only to realize that he has already died. Phi wakes up once again in the goddess's domain. She casually begins explaining the Hall of Reincarnation, but suddenly freezes when she realizes it is Phi again, shortly after his last reincarnation. Furious over his painful death, Phi shouts that he can't rest in peace and demands a power strong enough to kill dangerous monsters, or at least raise his level. Though the goddess doesn't fully understand his anger, she explains that blessings are given randomly. Wanting to help, she tells him to sit on the chair again and urges him to be grateful, as this place exists only to grant blessings. During his second reincarnation, Phi receives the aggro draw skill, a power that forcibly draws enemies' attention toward him. Back in the world, Phi runs at full speed while a massive dragon chases him through the sky. Though the skill isn't strong, he feels happy knowing the dragon is focused on him, allowing villagers to escape. Just as he's about to be eaten, Tyuko appears above, teasing him by asking if he's playing a game of tag, but he informs that losing means death. Telling him to relax, Tyuko flies toward the dragon and effortlessly destroys it with her power, saving Phi, her playmate. Tyuko, Phi's childhood friend, was someone he protected throughout their childhood, saving her from danger many times. Now that she is the one protecting him, Phi feels gloomy. They decide to leave together, but their relief fades when another dragon angrily flies toward them. Summoning his courage, he pushes Tyuko aside and focuses on the enemy. He tries to use his power, but his useless skill fails him once again, and he dies. In his third reincarnation, Phi gains clairvoyance, the ability to see distant places and even glimpses of the future. Using this power, he guides Bren to defeat the Demon King. Watching the victory, Phi feels jealous, wishing he had been the one to strike the final blow. When Phi congratulates Bren, Hero replies that although the Demon King is defeated, many monsters still remain, and he asks Phi to fight beside him as a partner. Suddenly, both of them are shocked when the Demon King, still alive, uses his final breath to launch a fireball at Bren. Without hesitation, Phi steps in front of Bren, hoping this act will finally make him strong, but once again, he meets his tragic end. Finally, in his fourth reincarnation, Phi is blessed with regeneration, allowing his wounds to heal rapidly. This time, he manages to survive and live a long, happy life. Now, lying on his deathbed, his children and even his granddaughter, Lulu Bell, gather around him, tears in their eyes, unwilling to let him go. sitting by his bed with tears in their eyes. His children thank Fi for raising them so well. Through her sobs, his granddaughter Lulu Bell says she has studied enough magic to bring him back to life. Fi gently stops her, telling her he is old, has lived a long, happy life, and it's time to let him go. As he takes his final breath, everyone cries, and his only regret is that he never became the strongest in the world. Once again, Fi wakes in the goddess's domain. The goddess recalls how he spent this life happily, surrounded by loved ones, and wonders why he has returned. Fi simply smiles, saying he enjoyed a full life, but still regrets not becoming the strongest in the world. Annoyed, the goddess angrily tells him to sit on the chair, scolding him for returning repeatedly and delaying the other reincarnation candidates. Still, Fi cheekily asks her to be kind, reminding her that he is also a confit, special soul. In his 5th reincarnation, Fi receives a new power but has no idea what it does. Carrying the baggage for the A-rank party, he decides to focus on mastering all his previous 4 skills. Overwhelmed by the load, he collapses. The A-rank party members turn around, teasing him for falling behind despite being the guide. They then decide to take a short rest, suggesting that he continue carrying the luggage. As he collects the baggage, Fi feels gloomy. He once dreamed of defeating monsters, but now so many adventures and tasks are assigned to him that the burden feels overwhelming. Finally, the party members decide to help carry the luggage. But suddenly, everyone is shocked to see a huge black monster, a shadow walker, looming nearby. Realizing the monster is far stronger than their combined power, the group leader urgently advises everyone to run. They also tell Fi to escape, but he, exhausted from carrying the baggage, bravely stands in front of the Shadow Walker. Seeing this, all the other party members flee to save their lives. As the Shadow Walker spreads its dark presence around him, Fi sits gloomily, thinking about his desperate dream to be strong enough to defeat monsters. He feels frustrated and useless, doubting his own life. Then, remembering how his family always motivated him to never give up, he finds renewed strength. Encouraged to use all his power and leave no regrets, Fi activates his unknown 5th skill with newfound determination. Back at the goddess's domain, she remembers that she never told Fi about his 5th summoning skill. Now, with 4 powerful allies summoned near him, Fi faces the monster. Seeing the threat, Danchuariva immediately flies forward to eliminate it. Excitedly, Tyuko attacks the Shadow Walker with her Dragon Slayer fist, causing it to roar in pain. Although Hero King Bren is shocked to see him back in monster hunting, he immediately swings his powerful sword at the creature. Finally, Fi's granddaughter, the super high elf Lulu Bell, unleashes her magic, striking the monster. In no time, the massive Shadow Walker is completely vanquished. Everyone happily greets Fi-kun, while Lulu Bell teasingly comments on how they are almost the same age in this life. Seeing all 4 powerful allies by his side, Fi realizes that with them, he finally has a chance to go full OP in this world. Finally, Fi happily thanks all his companions for coming. Everyone is surprised when Lulu Bell suddenly rushes forward and hugs him excitedly, overwhelmed by the scent of her grandfather. Fi smiles at her enthusiasm and teasingly tells her that, in this new life, he is still young. Seeing their affection, Tyuko cautiously asks if Fi had married in another world, wondering how he could have a granddaughter. Fi denies it, explaining that he never married and has no blood relation to Lulu Bell. Hearing about Tyuko's way of congratulating him, just in case he had been married, Fi becomes nervous, worried about her dangerously enthusiastic method of celebration. Then Bren mockingly praises Fi for all his great deeds, and Fi also excitedly asks about his own rewards. Bren gloomily explains that after receiving his reward for defeating the Demon King, he didn't buy a castle. Instead, he spent it all on drinking parties and ended up neck-deep in debt. Finally, Fi shows his happiness during this emotional moment, feeling grateful to have been surrounded by those he summoned. His attention then turns to Danchuariva, who bows her head and thanks him. Having been freed by Fi, she had never had the chance to properly express her gratitude before. While explaining how she had remained in the ruins all this time, Danchuariva pledges to obey Fi and follow his commands. She is shocked when Fi gives her a thumbs up, assuring her safety. When she gloomily adds that she is just a tool, Fi happily tells her that she is his companion. This makes her overjoyed, and she excitedly promises to serve him faithfully as his trusted companion. Finally, Fi shares his plan with everyone. He will report to the guild about defeating the Shadow Walker so that people can safely enter the dungeon. When the group suggests he wait outside the guild, he agrees, seeing it as the best option. Tyuko and Danchuariva want to accompany him, but he waves them off and enters the guild alone. Inside, he is shocked to see everyone's surprised reactions, with guild members whispering suspiciously and questioning why he is there. Everyone starts sharing how they heard from the Azit group that Phi had been attacked by the Shadow Walker, but when Phi happily announces that he is perfectly fine and that the monster was even defeated, it deepens everyone's shock. Curiously, they begin asking if an S-rank adventurer happened to pass by and kill the dangerous monster, since it didn't seem like it could be defeated by Phi. But when he proudly announces that he killed it himself, everyone is left utterly shocked. Then, with an angry tone and disbelief, someone warns him that it would be dangerous if he were lying. Confidently, Phi replies that if he were lying, someone else would have reported it by now. Believing him, the people relax, and Phi is surprised when everyone suddenly lifts him into the air, cheering and celebrating his strength, astonished at how powerful his abilities are, almost like an S-rank adventurer. Floating in the air, Phi feels the happiness he had longed for since the very beginning, and silently thanks his 4 companions. From a distant window, Lulu Bell watches, shocked at Phi receiving all the credit. Tyuko stands excitedly, enjoying the interesting view, while on the ground, Denchoriva speaks in his favor and Bren eagerly talks about celebrating with dinner tonight. As they carry Lulu Bell and Tyuko on their shoulders so the girls can see the view clearly, Bren asks them to get down, worried about their shoulders hurting, but both girls refuse to come down. Inside the guild, S-rank adventurer Lavi arrives and looks at Phi with disdain. Confidently, Phi suggests she check the monster's corpse. She refuses and, placing her sword at his neck, challenges him to defeat her if he truly killed the monster. Realizing that Lavi is much stronger than him, he feels worried and thinks about making a lame excuse. But remembering all the motivation he received earlier, he finally agrees to fight. His 4 companions watch anxiously from outside, hoping for his victory. Standing in the crowded battlefield, Phi scolds himself for relying only on the praise he has received in his life to get ready, and steels himself to face Lavi, the strongest girl. Glancing at her armor, Phi quickly hatches a plan to make it look like he defeated Lavi without actually fighting, using his unlock and clairvoyant skills. But noticing him lost in thought, Lavi, clearly annoyed, tells him to start the fight immediately. With no other choice, Phi grips his sword and activates his clairvoyant skill. Realizing that Lavi's sword strikes are too fast to fully dodge, he quickly adapts, using the skill to simply avoid her attacks instead. This unexpected move shocks Lavi. Then Phi uses his next skill, moving close to Lavi as if to attack. Instead of striking, he activates his unlock skill. To everyone's surprise, Lavi's armor comes off. The crowd stares in awe and cheers, though a few are confused. Removing her armor seemed impossible with Phi's simple wooden sword. Phi feels happy that by merely pretending to attack and using his skills, everyone thinks he has won. As he asks Lavi if he has truly won, he suddenly falls to the ground, hit directly on the nose by her. Covering herself, Lavi scolds him, claiming she wasn't hurt. Sitting up with a bleeding nose, Phi can't help but smile, knowing that his skill didn't actually harm her. Now sitting gloomily on the ground, Phi watches as Lavi carefully puts her armor back on. She explains that, although he technically lost, he easily dodged her strikes and even removed her armor. Formally, she declares him one of the strongest people in the guild. Hearing this, Phi is both surprised and overjoyed. At the guild reception, the receptionist reacts with shock and excitement to Phi's newfound strength, while he silently reflects on the hardships behind it. She then informs him that he must complete 3 A-rank quests to qualify for S-rank status, leaving him uneasy. She happily informs him that, since he has already cleared 2 A-rank fights, she suggests he take on the subjugation of the monsters attacking the Komareya Empire. Looking at the pamphlets, Phi casually asks whether the mission is dangerous. The guild receptionist explains that 2 A-rank parties had already been sent, but both were completely wiped out. Now, they have decided to send him, as she considers him the strongest person in the guild after defeating the Shadow Walker. Hearing this, Phi feels scared and worried, but remembering his 4 powerful companions, he confidently accepts the request. As he steps out of the guild, he is shocked to see all his companions waiting for him, cheering and supporting him along the guild wall. Lulu Bell happily admires Lavi's kind nature, while Tyuko excitedly asks if they are heading to the Empire. Phi explains that they need to complete some documents and procedures first. Finally, Phi shows his companions the reward money they received for defeating the Shadow Walker, and also tells them about the town's pamphlets he acquired to enjoy their time there. Bren, with an excited, mischievous smile, moves forward to grab the money, but he hesitates when Phi, moving the money outside, explains his decision not to give it to him, having seen how Bren quickly blew his rewards on strange bets in the past. Phi finally hands the money to Denchoriva, explaining that everyone else would just waste it. After waving to the group, he walks away. Upon entering his home, he becomes worried and tense, realizing that a team has been sent to clean up the battlefield. He fears that without proper control, they might end up destroying the entire town. Outside, Tyuko calls her Chuari-chan, since her original name is so long, and asks about her plans for enjoying their time. Since she has the money, everyone follows her, but she gloomily admits that she is unaware of any enjoyable spots in the area. The girls excitedly decide to show Chuari-chan some fun places. Tyuko suggests they all start at the clothing shops, since Chuari-chan, despite being cute, is wearing old clothes. After picking out several outfits for her, they suggest she try them on in the changing room. After a while, Chuari-chan comes out wearing a blackish outfit, mesmerizing everyone with its uniqueness. She then tries on many more dresses, each one suiting her perfectly. Finally, after trying all the amazing outfits, she still worries whether Fi-sama would like them. Hearing this, Tyuko suddenly rips Chuari-chan's clothes and runs off, shouting that if she's trying to flirt with Fi, she should do it differently. Panicked by this sudden action, Chuari-chan hurriedly puts her old outfit back on and tries to explain that it was just a small, innocent flirtation. Seeing this scene, Bren smiles and suggests that Lulu Bell also pick out a few clothes for Tyuko-chan. The store's staff bows and thanks them for shopping. The customer service man is shocked when the manager, holding the torn clothes, angrily scolds them. Although the salesman assures them that the dress was fully compensated, the manager remains furious. She is especially upset because the outfit is made from wyvern fabric, famous for being so strong that no ordinary monster could even make a tiny hole in it. Angrily, she decides to punish the faulty goods suppliers. After leaving the clothing mall, they finally arrive at the bookstore on Lulu Bell's suggestion. She is mesmerized by the aroma of ink, the appearance of the books, and the knowledge contained within them. She suggests that everyone read these books to gain knowledge about different worlds. Excitedly looking at a picture book, Lulu Bell encourages Fi to read aloud, as she finds it so amazing and wants everyone to experience it together. After reading the entire book, Lulu Bell becomes so moved that she starts crying, and even Danchuariva finds it interesting. Curious about so many other books, they end up buying all of them. The salesgirl bows deeply, thanking them for their purchase. The owner, curiously asking about the return of the picture book, shocks the salesgirl. He explains that the book absorbs the magical power of the reader. Many magicians have tried to obtain its abilities, but all fainted before completely reading it. As the story concludes, the book magically returns to its shelf in the shop. The salesman, shocked, suggests not sell the book. The owner, however, smiles, noting that the book is extremely profitable as a bestseller. When the salesgirl shares, still shocked, that those customers read the entire book aloud, the owner is left completely stunned. Now, holding huge bags full of clothes and books, Bren decides to head back, but only after playing one game of gamble. Now everyone ends up sitting there as Fi loudly shouts, explaining that the shooting blocks the interference signal the shop emits. Seeing all the girls shouting with him to help him win, Lulu Bell reminds them not to believe him, saying he's crazy from playing games. Realizing he is losing the game, everyone is shocked when a stranger enters with an evil smile, teasing them that he can earn all the money easily and demands that it be handed over to him. While Bren advises him to earn money through hard work, Lulu Bell teases Bren for giving such a suggestion. The stranger insists that money is needed urgently and shouts for it to be handed over. Bren steps forward, striking the stranger with his sword and teasing him in return. As the stranger falls to the ground, his 3 other brothers arrive and explain how they collected money around the house. They ask their younger brother, worriedly, whether he managed to get the medicine for their mother, as the money they have is not enough for her cure. After finishing all the shopping and returning, Fi welcomes everyone, seeing their excitement at exploring the town with so many fun places. Watching them enjoy themselves, he relaxes, realizing he had been overthinking and worrying for nothing. Fi advises everyone to rest for the day, planning to head to the Empire next. In the Empire, the commander of the Imperial Knights, Mikhail, bows before the king, who seems impressed by his report about tricking the adventurers and appreciates him for bringing them all here. After a while, the commander, bowing in front of the suspicious monster, informs him about the next sacrifice that has already been prepared. The next morning, everyone is flying awkwardly through the air, shouting to be put down. But on Lulu Bell, happily asking Fi for permission to set them down, he quietly refuses as they reach their destination. After flying for a while, they finally arrive at the Komareya Empire. Lulu Bell is excited, but Bren is exhausted, his legs frozen from the cold flight. Tyuko is thrilled to defeat the country's monsters and become S rank, yet he feels confused. The city looks peaceful, with no sign of a monster attack. At Fi's command, everyone walks forward to meet the Knight Commander who sent the request. They enter the luxurious Imperial building, where Knight Commander Mikhail greets them. They respond by happily introducing themselves. Mikhail excitedly asks Fi, the group leader, to meet him alone to discuss the monster subjugation. Fi gladly agrees at once. Mikhail then politely suggests that the others relax, enjoy the Empire's finest tea, and wait outside. As the guards serve tea, Bren eats hungrily. The others worry and decide to go with Phi, but Mihail calmly refuses, explaining that the meeting room is small. At Phi's advice, everyone agrees to stay behind. After entering the room, he explains the powerful monster Rob that is terrorizing the city, so strong that no adventurer has been able to fight it. Phi is shocked to learn that there is no visible destruction. The commander explains that instead of attacking or killing civilians, Rob demands regular human sacrifices. Phi is deeply shaken, realizing they are truly making sacrifices. Mihail, wearing a grim smile, explains that instead of sacrificing their own citizens, which would be foolish, they offer up adventurers instead. Without giving Phi time to process everything, Mihail asks him not to hate them for their actions and activates his blessing, Glory Ray. Phi tries to use his clairvoyance skill, but the blinding light from Mihail's power is overwhelming. Unable to endure it, Phi collapses to the ground. Mihail, still wearing a stubborn, cruel smile, tells Phi he won't kill him, because Rob wants his sacrifices alive. Back in the waiting area, everyone is calmly enjoying tea when the guards suddenly surround them. One places a sword at Bren's neck and declares that they are the sacrifices for the monster. Lulu Bell immediately suspects the tea was poisoned, causing him to panic and spit it out in fear. Tyuko and the other girls show no fear, cheerfully deciding to kill the knights since they are not adventurers. Seeing how relaxed and amused they are, the knights warn them not to resist if they want to stay alive. Lulu Bell turns to them with a smile and says they are not resisting, just shaking off a little dust. Meanwhile, in the same suspicious place, Phi becomes confused upon entering the hall. Mihail explains that this is where Rob will receive its sacrifices soon. He scolds them angrily for using such a cruel method, protecting their city by killing adventurers, while the knights admit they carry out the task with heavy hearts. As Phi taunts them over this senseless excuse, Himari steps forward, still smiling, to take full responsibility for their actions. Tied up, he feels frustrated at being trapped. He is relieved thinking his companions will come to save him, but also ashamed. He was supposed to be strong enough to protect everyone. Determined to act strong, he strains his hands with all his power. Everyone, including Phi, is shocked as the incredibly strong handcuffs shatter into pieces. Mihail, ignoring whether it was a blessing or not, moves his powerful sword to prevent Phi from escaping. He firmly warns that, regardless of whether their actions were ethical, they have now created an enemy even stronger than Rob. At that moment, a knight nervously reports that an adventurer destroyed the palace alone. Seeing him engulfed in flames and then dead terrifies the other knights. Meanwhile, Lulu Bell fights all of them. Determined, Phi challenges Mihail to a battle on equal footing. Mihail angrily orders the other knights to handle the remaining adventurers and vows that after killing Phi, he will join them as well. In no time, with a single move, Phi is slammed into the wall so hard that it leaves cracks. Mihail ties him up to ensure he can never escape. Phi, with a strange smile, asks Mihail to go easy, feeling embarrassed about losing like this, but Mihail ignores him, knowing any fight would risk his own loss. As Mihail moves away, he grows worried. He sent many knights to capture the other adventurers, but none have returned, and he fears they may cause trouble later. His shock deepens as he sees the cat-like Rob enter, shouting at Mihail for not providing 4 sacrifices yet. Seeing Mihail so terrified, Phi realizes that Rob is a demon, not just a monster, so powerful that the knights cannot even land a hit. Mihail bows, trembling, promising to bring the other sacrifices. But with an evil smile, Rob decides to take some knights instead. Terrified and anxious, Mihail watches as Rob approaches closely, declaring that if he wants to remain a knight, the Empire's citizens must be offered. Hearing this, Mihail feels terrified and helpless. Meanwhile, Rob notices Phi still clinging to the wall and becomes excited. Phi, shocked at how scared Mihail is of such a cute-looking demon, watches as Rob approaches him, warning not to make him fall, as he wouldn't save him. With no other choice, and to protect his knights, Mihail unleashes his maximum radiant beam skill at Rob, but is shocked when the attack passes harmlessly around him, failing to land a hit. Angry at him for attempting such foolishness, Rob spins around, soars high, and kicks Mihail with immense force, slamming him hard into the wall. The impact cracks the wall, and he screams loudly in pain. Landing back on the ground, Rob mocks Mihail, saying he had no intention of hitting him. It was all Mihail's own fault. Meanwhile, beams of light from Mihail strike Phi, freeing him. Phi is shocked at Mihail's terrible condition after just a single blow from Rob. Then, Phi jumps high, deciding to fight Rob instead of Mihail. Rob looks down at him, scolding him for his foolishness in attacking, and calmly steps aside. Lying on the ground, Fi is stunned by Rob's incredible speed, so fast that even his skills cannot detect it. Meanwhile, Rob hovers menacingly, and though his attacks are unintentional, he warns Fi not to die. Then he soars high and walks along the wall, causing both Mikhail and Fi to feel terrified. Suddenly, Lulu Bell arrives in her high heels, offering a polite smile and apologizing for being late due to a back injury. Fi, smiling confidently, declares that he has already defeated the monster. Seeing Lulu Bell, another adventurer bursts into the hall by breaking through the wall. Rob becomes excited and assures Lulu Bell that he won't strike her too hard. As she attacks, a massive burst of light erupts, making her seem almost invincible, which terrifies Fi. After a few seconds, Rob grows even more excited, sensing that Lulu Bell is blessed, as his attacks have no effect on her. But she smiles mischievously, revealing that she can cast spells with even the slightest movement, stepping, brushing her hair, and then she playfully winks, explaining that even blinking an eye counts as a spell for her. Her spell unleashes an enormous burst of light, shattering the hall and leaving the citizens in shock. Mikhail and Fi are also stunned, witnessing Lulu Bell send Rob soaring into the air with a single move. Although she knows that skipping any part of the chant could prevent the spell from activating, Rob, now airborne, warns her to prepare for his attack. He then dives down, striking at her with full force. Seeing Lulu Bell being hit hard by the attack, Fi worries about her, moving forward in concern, while Rob, overconfident, casually wipes his hands. He is shocked when Lulu Bell rises again, smiling and explaining that she had taken the strike lightly. Rob is even more stunned, having already severed her arm, as Lulu Bell cheerfully reveals her immense healing power. Fi too is impressed. Finally deciding to end the fight, Lulu Bell repeatedly unleashes all her spells with just a single step on her heel. Rob, eagerly ready to strike, is caught off guard by the sudden, intense burst of light. The explosion shatters the surrounding walls and cracks the building, striking Rob so powerfully that he has no time to retaliate. With so many spells unleashed, Rob tries to counterattack but is too severely injured to move at all. In her final move, Lulu Bell casts her ultimate spell, completely defeating Rob and successfully completing their quest. Seeing Lulu Bell's incredible abilities, Fi truly admires her, while she calmly says it's nothing. His astonishment deepens even further when, using her magical healing power, she instantly restores all of his injuries in an instant. When Fi teases her about how she could level dozens of houses with a single training strike, Lulu Bell becomes embarrassed, recalling old memories. Although he only smiles and lightly apologizes for his teasing, but he genuinely admires her, impressed by her use of physical movements instead of relying solely on chance. This makes her happy, as she feels that although she isn't as skilled as her mother, she excels in healing powers. Cheerfully, she asks Fi to continue praising and encouraging her abilities. He happily thanks her again for saving all of them, and she cheerfully winks and hugs him from behind, as she always does to protect him. Despite this, he still feels a bit gloomy about being protected by his granddaughter, but she smiles warmly, reminding him that in this world, everyone is meant to help one another. Everyone is stunned when Rob awakens, still conscious and surprised by his fully healed wounds. As Lulu Bell approaches him, she scolds him for his foolishness and explains that she healed him in order to extract information about his attacks on people. Understanding the whole situation, Rob sits on the ground, looking sorrowful, as Fi asks him why he kidnapped humans. Rob seems confused too. He doesn't know the full details, only that humans stole a demon mask long ago, and he has been abducting people to recreate the mask or something similar. When Rob introduces himself as merely a grunt, Fi is shocked by the true mastermind's strength. Rob then explains his theory, suggesting that the mastermind requires humans for experimental purposes, likely to recreate the stolen mask. When Lulu Bell asks if any adventurers might still be alive, Rob nods, but only under the condition that the experiments have not yet begun. With this information, Fi instructs Lulu Bell to restrain Rob so they can safely report the situation to the guild. As they leave, a frightened Mikhail calls after them, asking if they aren't going to arrest him, feeling deceived by the adventurers. Fi casually explains that even the adventurers who couldn't defeat him, or even Rob, are still alive. He did all of this simply to protect his own nation, which is truly admirable and impressive. Fi smiles and remarks that arresting him would only make the report even longer, prompting Lulu Bell to tease him for his laziness. Finally, they depart from the Imperial Palace. Deeply impressed by Fi's kindness, Mikhail feels ashamed and bows respectfully, thanking him sincerely. Back at the guild, the man holding the pamphlet inquires about Fi. Knowing that he is currently on the quest to the Empire, they decide to submit the form after his return. Previously, they only had Lavi, the strongest member, but now with Fi as well, they eagerly prepare for the guild competition. A massive crowd watches the event unfold across the realm. Upon entering the guild, the receptionist thanks Fi for completing the quest and assures him they will handle the remaining kidnapped adventurers themselves. Fi happily offers his assistance during the session. When she suggests keeping Rob restrained using magical bindings even while in prison, Fi agrees with her. His shock deepens when she finally presents him with the S-rank shield, congratulating him on his promotion to S-rank adventurer. Holding the shield, he exclaims in surprise and disbelief, while the other adventurers watch in admiration, offering their compliments. Someone then asks if he will participate in the guild competition, which will be held in the flower capital, the Flax Domain, instead of the guild's usual training grounds. Fi is even more shocked upon learning that the reward for the winner includes the Mask of Transcendence. Noticing his stunned and confused expression, an adventurer explains that this mask is incredibly powerful, granting the wearer extraordinary abilities. The Flax family obtained it during the war against demons and subsequently defeated millions of enemies. Hearing all this, Fi realizes it might be the same mask Rob mentioned. Thinking that obtaining it would make him unbelievably powerful, he becomes overjoyed and thrilled with excitement. There's still confusion over why the Flax family is suddenly offering it as a reward to others. Suddenly, Lavi enters the guild, and Fi, excited, asks if she is also joining the competition. Her calm, indifferent response leaves him utterly stunned. She explains that she has no intention of taking part in such a meaningless, foolish contest. Fi, feeling disappointed, argues that since it's a 3-on-3 match, her participation is necessary to secure their victory. She responds calmly that even if she competed, it wouldn't ensure success, because SS rank adventurers are also involved, so formidable that they could challenge even the legendary summoned heroes. Although they had never participated in such competitions before, now suddenly everyone is joining, which she dislikes, finding this type of adventure strange. As she walks away coldly, she advises him not to take part in the battle. Fi, meanwhile, tries to inspire her, suggesting that if she truly dislikes them, they could defeat them together. He motivates her by explaining that overcoming the SS rank adventurers would make them famous and powerful, and that as adventurers, they shouldn't fear anyone. To stir her emotions further, Fi cheers enthusiastically, urging everyone around to encourage her as well. But she, unmoved by their words, coldly suggests that he participate on his own and turns away. Fi, however, gently holds her legs and apologizes, explaining that the mask is necessary to save the adventurers. He mentions that Rob revealed humans are being kidnapped to obtain the mask, which seems to be the same one the Flax family possesses. Bowing respectfully, he explains that this mask is the key to saving the adventurers' lives. Hearing this, she turns to him angrily, demanding to know if he's lying. With a serious expression, he falls to the ground and assures her that she can verify it with Rob in the guild prison. Finally, she loudly announces her decision to join, determined to win, which excites him. Although she knows victory will be difficult, seeing other adventurers being thrown around by Fi and recognizing his strength convinces her to place her trust in him this time. Finally, Lavi, Fi, and the powerful A-rank magician Nakoru decide to participate in the 3-on-3 competition. Lavi informs everyone to be prepared as the event will take place tomorrow in the Flax Domain. As Fi shares this news with his companions, Tyuko, worried for him, decides to accompany him as well. Finally arriving at their destination, Fi is greatly impressed by the magnificent interior of the building, while other adventurers begin to gather. Confused by Nakoru's absence, Fi asks about her, and Lavi coldly replies that she is on her way and will join them at the competition site. Deciding to move forward, they continue on. Meanwhile, other adventurers arrive. A girl with a bandaged face, a large man wearing only a black bead necklace, and a boy. Duster, the team leader, feels annoyed by the massive crowd, but is still amazed by the grandeur of the place. The girl, speaking sharply, advises Duster not to embarrass them with such a loud discussion. The man with the black necklace suggests that everyone remain quiet, as they are representing their guild. The girl, however, teases him for giving advice while not wearing proper clothing himself. Proudly flexing his muscles, the man explains that his body is the guild's symbol, which everyone agrees with. As they decide to proceed toward their destination, they encounter a large crowd. She scolds them for being late, blaming their pointless discussions for the delay. Excited, Duster declares that they will arrive on time and uses his abilities, sending their group soaring through the air at the speed of light. The people below are astonished, wondering if they are using some form of magic. Duster explains that he is employing the Silver Fist martial art, combining incredible strength, speed, technique, and magic to enable flight. Hearing this, the other adventurers immediately recognize him as Duster, the S-rank and exceptionally powerful group leader. Duster becomes excited upon seeing the registration desk, but is suddenly struck by something. A massive wave of light spreads around, causing him to crash violently to the ground, along with his magical aura. Kyudo, smiling apologetically, asks if he's alright, explaining that she accidentally hit him while flying. Duster reassures her that he's fine, but his group members are shocked at how unharmed Tyuko is despite being struck by Duster, and even more surprised that they couldn't perceive her incredible speed. Now standing proudly, Duster introduces himself and asks for her name. She hesitates, almost introducing herself as Tyuko, but quickly corrects herself, saying she is Nakoru. Everyone is stunned as Duster rises, admiring her strength, and immediately challenges her to a duel on the spot. Seeing Duster's unusual interest in Tyuko, his group members angrily remind him that there's no time to waste, but he insists that she strike him, eager to witness her true power. Despite his team's warnings not to mess around, everyone is stunned when a massive blast erupts in an instant. The force shatters the building behind Duster, sending debris flying. He crashes violently against the wall, which collapses on him under the tremendous power, and even his staff is thrown apart. Tyuko stands calmly, smiling, and explains that she needs to go to the registration desk. His group members call out to him anxiously, but he strides forward excitedly, scattering the pile of stones in his path. He feels overjoyed to be joining the guild, and even wears a mischievous smile, eager for a one-on-one fight with Nakoru if he gets the chance in the competition. His companions angrily warn him not to lose this time. Outside, Tyuko, wearing a large magical cap, apologizes to Fi and Lavi for making them wait. But noticing her long horns and tail, Fi immediately realizes that she is actually Tyuko, not the Nakoru she had been pretending to be. Lavi stands at the registration desk, proudly displaying her S-rank shield, which bears the guild number 47. Outside, Fi excitedly asks Tyuko about her outfit. She cheerfully explains that she's wearing it just for fun and borrowed it from Nakoru, which leaves Fi quite surprised. She reassures him that it hasn't harmed her, and Fi decides not to ask any more questions. Fi feels a bit relieved that she has joined them, as he had no clear plan to defeat the incredibly strong adventurers on his own. Together, they are now determined to win the match as a team. Everyone is stunned when Frody, calling out to Fi from behind, rushes over, excited and happy to find him here. Fi is equally surprised by her new outfit, and she smiles, explaining that she's wearing this special attire just for him. Realizing that he is not reacting to all this, Frody still admires his kindness. He even forgets the favor he had shown her earlier and the fact that she wanted to join his guild but couldn't find him. Instead, she offers for him to join her guild. Tyuko angrily demands to know about the girl, while Frody proudly introduces herself. Tyuko rudely tells her to stop talking and that she should be asking Fi instead. However, instead of letting him answer, Frody explains that she was once a thief and that he provided her guidance, making him her mentor. Kyuri angrily interrupts, declaring that she won't allow this to happen. Frody, smiling proudly, asserts that with her guild, Fi would be safer and more renowned. Seeing the two girls on the verge of fighting each other, Fi quickly steps in, trying to stop the confrontation. Frody challenges Fi, saying he can join her guild if she wins the tournament. Tyuko, however, proudly insists that they shouldn't wait and should fight right there. Frody suggests avoiding the battle in that spot to prevent harming others, but Tyuko teases her, claiming it's just an excuse. Everyone is stunned when, moving at the speed of light, Frody places her sword at Tyuko's neck, implying she could strike in an instant. Tyuko retaliates with a kick, but Frody proudly declares that as Fi's friend, she would never actually harm her. Everyone is stunned when Tyuko bites down on Frody's half-sword, warning her, and Frody herself becomes frightened, seeing it in Tyuko's grasp. Stepping back, Frody still urges Fi to consider joining her guild, while Tyuko angrily shouts at her stubbornness. As Frody departs, Lavi joins them, informing them that she's handling the registration. Fi asks about Lavi's knowledge of Frody, and when Lavi reveals that Frody is the fastest adventurer in history to achieve SS rank, Fi becomes terrified and shouts in fear. Tyuko, however, smiles reassuringly, telling him not to worry, as she would defeat Frody in no time. The scene shifts to Julian, fully masked, informing the Duke Fraxt about placing a magical circle on both the tournament arena and on his son's body. The Duke appreciates his work, as Julian also explains that the circle will be activated during the final round of the tournament. He further clarifies that the final will be a four-way free-for-all. As Julian steps up the stairs to make an offering to the god to awake his son, placing his hand on his son's sleeping body, he gloomily explains that awakening isn't necessary. He intends to awaken something far more powerful, capable of surpassing even S-rank adventurers. Julian assures him that, with the proper reward, she would perform this ritual even without caring if it would harm the princess, a plan the Duke also agrees with. Now alone, he gloomily assures his son's sleeping body, Gil, that he will become the strongest once awakened. Meanwhile, at the event venue, everyone grows excited upon hearing the announcement that the 85th Guild vs. Tournament is officially beginning. As the fight begins, a fireball hits the ground, causing the opposing team to panic and almost surrender immediately. The Ancient Star Group leader, noticing this early, quickly removes the fireball and strikes back using her powers, motivating the crowd to cheer. The spectators make noise, inspired by the Ancient Star team's performance, while the group dreams of achieving their ultimate goals, having enough money, abundant food, and a life of luxury. After a while, the announcement declares Ancient Star's victory. Everyone cheers and dances in celebration, even asking her to grant them a life of luxury. Seeing her graciously accept all the compliments, her group members smile, feeling that this recognition suits her perfectly. In the next match, the opponents are still terrified, facing off against S-rank adventurers. Duster angrily warns them not to be so cowardly so early, but they remain afraid of dying. Seeing this, Duster offers them an opportunity. If they all attack him at the same time and manage to land a single hit, he will immediately accept his defeat. Seeing a chance, the overconfident opponents, believing that even a weak strike could harm the strongest, attempt to attack Duster simultaneously. The fight begins, but everyone is stunned when Duster, using only his hands, punches two of the warriors, sending them flying and screaming in pain. He then charges at the third opponent and kicks him in the face, tearing his mask. Realizing their defeat, Duster immediately accepts victory. The announcement declares Silver Fist as the winner. Everyone is amazed at this unexpected win. They didn't use weapons, magic, or blessings, they just won by using their fists. The next battle between the rival and the Frody group begins. The challenger, gripping their sword, charges at Frody to strike, but freezes in astonishment when Frody abruptly vanishes. Moments later, she materializes behind them, revealing that she is wielding the Shadow Drink Blessing. Then, slipping in and out of the shadows, she strikes one warrior. Seeing this, another fighter, filled with rage, charges at her, but she leaps upward at the last moment, causing them to tumble to the ground. She strikes back, and finally, the Shadow Sword declares victory. Watching all this, the others are stunned by her incredible power and the blessing she wields. After the fight, her companion asks in confusion why she used all her power instead of just enough to defeat them. Frody, excited, explains that she was only showing off her abilities to impress Fi-senpai. Hearing this, both companions feel a pang of jealousy toward Fi, but she smiles reassuringly, saying that even though everyone has witnessed her blessing, she will still come out victorious. Finally, the confrontation between the rivals and Fi's group begins. The crowd grows irritated, expecting Fi, who just earned an S rank, to show great strength, but he merely dodges the attacks and retreats. People loudly scold him, urging him to fight back. While seeing all this, Tyuko quietly whispers to him, seemingly making a clever plan, but she is really just suggesting that he assist her. Noticing them whispering, another member, furious, scolds them and swings their sword in attack. At the exact moment, both evade effortlessly. Fi, now angry, calls him to strike, but as he attacks, he immediately uses his clairvoyance powers to dodge the blow. While Tyuko handles another opponent, she suddenly targets a massive fighter. Fi instinctively moves as if punching him too. Everyone is stunned when, with a huge blast, the immensely strong opponent is slammed back with such force that even the wall around them shatters and debris scatters everywhere. After the victory of the Glaze Shield, the people who had earlier scolded him apologize and praise the strength of his punch. Even Lavi quietly admires Fi for his powerful attack, but in the audience, only Lulu Bell watches tiredly, knowing that it was Tyuko who did it all. Excited to move directly to the final, Fi shocks everyone when they see that his eyes are bleeding. Finally, Lulu Bell hugs Fi, congratulating him on his win, while Bren informs them that their next fight will be against an S-rank opponent. While Fi feels worried after the previous fight left him dazed, his eyes have stopped bleeding thanks to regeneration, though they are still not fully healed. When Lulu Bell uses her healing powers, he is thrilled to regain clear vision and immediately thanks her profusely. Everyone is shocked when Bren places a sword on Fi's neck. The crowd is left speechless, especially as Tyuko angrily demands to know the reason for this strange action. Then everyone understands when Bren explains that Fi has been overusing his clairvoyance, which temporarily prevents him from using it again so soon. Fi feels terrified at the thought of not being able to use his powers again. Lulu Bell, looking gloomy, reassures him that his skills, like magic, will eventually return, but it will take time. Realizing all this, Fi grows more determined, knowing that facing the strongest S-rank opponent is exactly when he needs his powers the most. Although Bren insists on using his other skills, he still feels annoyed, since it is his best ability. On the other side, Duster excitedly asks his companions, Garibaldo and Vanessa, about the other adventurers. When they explain that they, along with 3 other guilds, including the Grey Shield with Nakoru, are participating, Duster becomes thrilled as he joined this fight to face the strongest people in the world. But upon realizing that Tyuko is even stronger than them all, he grows even more eager to win and claim Tyuko for himself. While the Shadow Group begins their discussion, Frody is excited about winning the final and recruiting Fi. Her companion suggests that Fi doesn't seem very strong, but Frody continues to admire him. Despite not being the strongest, he is amazing with his 4 skills and even looks impressive. Finally, she points out that winning would make their guild more famous, and everyone agrees. With that, they move on to the final. Finally, at the Ancient Star, Julian suggests to Ansele and Sandra to activate the spell array as Duke Fraxt commands. As the full moon shines, Julia activates the Crimson Blood Flare hexagram, causing Gil's sleeping body to finally start breathing. Finally, the guild match begins, featuring the Silver Fist, Ancient Star, Shadow Sword, and the Grey Shield. The announcers explain that it is a 4-team battle, with the last team standing declared the winner. As the match begins, Fi is thrilled at the chance to win and become the strongest. He rushes forward at incredible speed to attack, but everyone is shocked when Julian casts a spell, explaining that it is meant to eliminate the pests. The magic unleashes a massive blast, like a huge tsunami rising from the ground and swirling upward like a powerful wind. Seeing this strange move, all the guilds are left confused, while Fi appears wounded. Julian steps forward and explains her changed plan, revealing that she had originally intended to fight Fi. Meanwhile, Tyuko and Frody exchange glances, both considering facing Julian in a fistfight. Finally, as the fight begins, Julian is shocked to realize that Tyuko blocked her magic. She looks a little worried, while even Duke, witnessing all this, appears annoyed. When Julian suddenly changes the topic and asks a strange question about the sweetest food, hoping to distract them, Tyuko becomes extremely annoyed. She rushes toward her and attacks her mouth, creating a massive blast that seriously affects Julian. Suddenly, Tyuko is struck by someone speeding through the air and is sent flying. It is Duster, who had previously challenged Tyuko to a fistfight. Seeing this opportunity, Julian also urges Duster to fight Tyuko so he can deal with Frody at the same time. Tyuko warns him that interfering repeatedly could cost his life, but he proudly leaps high into the air and challenges her to fight immediately. Calmly standing below, she suggests that when he comes down, she will be able to handle him like snow. Duster, clenching his fist, descends at incredible speed, shocking the crowd with his rapid movement. But everyone is even more stunned when Tyuko calmly counters his punch with a precise strike, warning that if he tries to attack again, she will deal with him as well. Her punch releases a massive blast, sending him flying high into the air before he crashes back down, shattering the ground on impact. As he clutches his head, Tyuko continues to smile calmly, telling him to surrender. Otherwise, she warns, she will keep punching him until he dies. Seeing their severely wounded state, both of his companions rush to fight Tyuko, but she counters their attack just as he had planned for a one-on-one battle. The sudden strike sends them both flying into the air, crashing hard against the wall. Duster, worried and calling out to them, realizes that Tyuko is teasing him. Instead of risking their lives, he should simply surrender. While she continues striking him, his mouth and eyes are bleeding, leaving him completely battered. The crowd is confused. Despite being an S rank, he is still being defeated by an A rank adventurer. At her final warning to surrender, he smiles through his bloody face, showing that her attacks don't affect him. At that exact moment, Fi rushes toward Tyuko to stop her from causing serious harm, but everyone is shocked when she strikes him with her sword, her expression completely emotionless. Seeing his battered condition, Vanessa recalls how he practiced tirelessly day and night, ignoring all the guild members who mocked and teased him. Even after such grueling training, he continued honing his skills. After countless hours of hard work, people gradually began to recognize his efforts and eventually joined him. From being an unknown and weak person, he became incredibly strong, eventually achieving the rank of S-rank adventurer. Through his hard work, he changed everyone's perception for the better, even Vanessa's. She also recalls the day he killed the Clinsider. As she rushed toward it, she scolded him for fighting so recklessly, even though he could have defeated it easily using his Stardust move. He explained that he hadn't wanted to use such a powerful skill on a weaker opponent, even though it would have made the fight much easier. She, however, was annoyed, arguing that everyone trained hard to win efficiently. If he didn't want to achieve victory, then what had been the point of all that rigorous training? While he smiled, agreeing that training had been fun for him, she felt a little moved. When she asked about his strategies for fighting the strongest opponents, he happily shared that battles had made him realize his true position and where he needed to improve. In any case, he said, if he ever faced someone stronger than him, he would try his very hardest to defeat them. While in the competition hall, Tyuko, having confirmed that Duster is defeated, calmly moves to kill Julian. But she is shocked when Duster grabs her by the shoulder, insisting that he has not surrendered yet. Tyuko simply looks at him, annoyed. While he recalls the moment Vanessa urged him to show no mercy and use all his power to defeat the strongest opponent. Excited, he unleashes his Starstrike skill, creating a massive blast that soars into the sky, frightening even Lavi and Phi. Duster's companions watch him with great excitement. After a while, Tyuko smiles teasingly. Seeing Duster's broken hand, he still admires that it had been delivered with full force. Suddenly, Duster falls to the ground, admitting his surrender, while his two companions, embarrassed, hide their faces. Meanwhile, Duster, with one eye completely swollen, blood covering his face, and one hand broken, still decides to begin training again. Now the system declares that the Silver Fist has surrendered. Meanwhile, medical staff arrive to attend to the injured Duster. Julian, pretending to be injured as well and speaking with a wounded voice, also surrenders, asking the medical team to take care of her too. Most of the members are injured, and Julian notices that while she is bleeding only a little, Frody and Duster are bleeding heavily. Even with the drops of Tyuko's blood, Julian, satisfied that the blood flame ring array might be activated, she decides to take some rest after surrendering. Now, as most members are struggling with each other and bleeding, Phi feels deeply ashamed for not being able to do anything. The battlefield is completely devastated when the announcement declares that the Silver Fist and Ancient Star have surrendered, and their entire squads are eliminated. Now, only two groups are left, making it seem uncertain whether the S-Rank or the Glacield would win. Hearing this, Phi still looks annoyed. Seeing no sign of his powers returning, he also feels gloomy, knowing that even if his power does return, he is not strong enough like Tyuko or the others. He still feels confused, unsure whether winning and obtaining the Transcendence Mask would truly make him stronger. Meanwhile, after defeating Duster, Tyuko proudly approaches Frody, asking if she should now defeat her while warning her to surrender as she is already bleeding. But Frody, determined and proud, decides to defeat Tyuko, making herself the strongest partner for Phi. In an instant, Frody throws her knife toward Tyuko, which narrowly misses her face, but Tyuko immediately dodges. Everyone is shocked when Frody suddenly approaches at incredible speed, but Tyuko stops her sword with just her fingers. A huge battle erupts between the two girls, creating massive blasts that shatter the ground into huge chunks. Frody immediately strikes the stone with her leg, sending it flying. Tyuko leaps high into the air to avoid it. As the stones crash to the ground, Tyuko moves down to attack, but she is shocked to see a precise, conscious movement above her. In no time, Frody finally presses her sword against Tyuko's cheek. Although Tyuko immediately holds the sword with her hand, Frody jumps very high, preparing to attack again. Angrily staring at her, Tyuko emits two beams of explosive light from her eyes. Frody moves to strike once more, but both girls are shocked when Duke Fraxt suddenly jumps between them, his face full of fear. The scene shifts as Gil, now appearing monstrous, kills all the guards. Julian, seeing his monstrous form, realizes that the blood ring array had accelerated too quickly. But witnessing Gil's overwhelming strength and the black energy surging from him, she knows that the experiment has failed. Seeing this strange monster, everyone is shocked. Phi looks up at it, clearly confused. Meanwhile, Gil stands on the tall building and opens his mouth, releasing a huge fireball of magic over the entire hall. Seeing this, even Lavi and Phi feel fear, but Julian, standing inside the building, looks impressive with his immense power. Everyone panics as a massive fireball erupts above the hall, but suddenly, Lulu Bell arrives and controls it with her hands, avoiding disaster, though the heat sears her palms. Later, as Gil leaps into the battlefield, Tyuko, trying to understand the strange creature, scolds him for damaging their fighting ground. Without answering, Gil dashes toward her. Before he can strike, she glares angrily and immediately blocks his fist. Despite her efforts, the monster's power forces her backward at high speed, slamming into the wall and triggering a massive blast. Phi, deeply worried, sees blood for the first time on her face. She glares fiercely, trying to stop Phi from looking at her, but her forceful push sends him crashing into the ground. She angrily glares at Gil for making her bleed in front of Phi, then dashes to attack him. Their clash triggers a huge blast, filling the area with smoke. Seeing the dangerous situation, Frody urges Phi to retreat, as no one can tell whether this is a monster, a demon, or something else. Finally, Julian enters the battlefield and explains that a year ago, Frankst's domain was attacked by a horde of monsters. Brave Gil Kun, wearing the Transcendence Mask, fought them all and defeated them, but wearing the mask for so long has taken its toll. To confirm this, she also checks with Duke Frankst, who sits gloomily and helplessly. Frankst explains that the human mind slowly succumbs to darkness if they wear the Transcendence Mask too long. He then reveals that he tried to strengthen Gil's body by channeling Julian's powerful magic. Julian first explains that the experiment failed, so she set up the blood array in the arena. It amplifies the wearer's strength in real time using the blood spilled within its bounds. Everyone grows terrified when Julian reveals that Gil-kun now wields the mask's power, the strength of 3 SS rank fighters, and even the abilities of Tyuko. Their battle sends massive blasts and debris scattering everywhere, frightening the audience, who begin to flee for safety. Seeing Tyuko fight alone, Danchuariva raises her weapon and asks if she wants help. Tyuko politely refuses, confident she can defeat him on her own. Sitting calmly, Bren observes the chaos, noting that the fighting is affecting the entire building. Danchuariva adds that to protect Phi, they need to end the battle immediately. Realizing the seriousness of the situation, Tyuko eagerly asks both of them to assist her. Duke Frankst recalls how worried Gil had been when countless monsters suddenly appeared near their town, far stronger than their knights. His father had suggested seeking help from other regions, but Gil realized it would be too late. Determined to protect his citizens, he decided to put on the Transcendence mask and fight the monsters. Duke Frankst had tried to stop him, warning it was too risky, but Gil, fully aware of the danger, chose to wear it anyway. But Duke still remained deeply worried for him. He explained that his duty was only to control the knights, yet by putting on the mask, Gil had allowed his father to intervene if he ever became a monster. On the battlefield, they first try to form a strategy to stop Gil. Tyuko jumps high into the air and lands with a blast, kicking Gil. She grows excited seeing him affected by her attack for the first time. Gil quickly composes himself and, with an evil smile, prepares to strike back. Suddenly, Bren attacks from another angle, hitting him with his sword and sending him flying into the air. Without hesitation, Danchuariva strikes with his massive hammer, landing a powerful blow. The audience, though terrified by the fierce battle, remains awed by the trio's combined power. While Lulu Bell controls the entire arena to prevent disaster, the audience stares in awe, cheering and urging the fighters to quickly kill Gil, seeing him as a monster. Duke, looking gloomy, whispers to Phi that people now call Gil a monster, even though he only transformed while protecting everyone. Phi becomes speechless. On the battlefield, Tyuko excitedly kicks Gil again, giving him no chance to counterattack and continuously pressing the assault. Finally, Phi speaks to Duke, explaining that the trio fighting with the intention to kill Gil are actually his friends. Since Gil is now completely under the monster's power, Phi cannot stop them, which would definitely put their lives at risk. He passionately asks Duke to hire him if he wants his son to survive, saying that as an adventurer, he is willing to risk his life and the lives of his teammates to save Gil. Seeing this glimmer of hope, Duke helplessly holds Phi by the shoulders and bows, desperately pleading with him to save his son. Phi's request excites him so much that he immediately enters the battlefield, calling out to his trio companions and advising them not to kill Gil, who is only under the mask's control. Bren, still struggling against Gil, agrees with Phi, but warns that controlling him is extremely dangerous. Tyuko also looks shocked, realizing they wouldn't be able to restrain him. Phi eagerly explains there's no need to bind Gil, as his nullify power can erase the mask's magic. Danchuariva, understanding this, also agrees with him. All his companions decide to assist him as he approaches Gil-kun, ready to help. Though everyone is still engaged in combat with Gil, Phi, excited to nullify the curse with his powers, dashes toward him. As Phi runs toward him, everyone is shocked when Gil uses his powers, stretching his long arms with terrifying speed and nearly catching Phi in an instant. Tyuko suddenly appears and attacks his hand with incredible force, warning Phi to be careful. Phi, still speechless from the sudden attack, thanks her, making her blush with happiness. Gil, still growling angrily, stretches both arms to strike and kill everyone around him. At the last moment, Bren slashes at him with his sword. Everyone gasps as Gil's furious attacks now radiate with beams of light that no one can block. But Bren, using his full strength, manages to press his foot onto Gil's extended hand and drive his sword into it, pinning it to the ground. Gil, now furious and growling, unleashes his full power and frees his hand, nearly striking down everyone around him. Danchuariva finally swings her massive hammer-like sword, while everyone else does their best to assist Phi. As she throws her weapon, it pins Gil in place, making him immobile, and she warns him to hold there until Phi reaches him. Seeing this, Phi dashes toward Gil, feeling a twinge of gloom that he is still protected by the others, but he admits to himself that the combined powers and skills of his teammates are his greatest strength. Confident, he finally removes his nullify key. As he approaches Gil, the monster reacts instantly, opening his mouth and unleashing a massive fireball. It passes through Phi, tearing a huge hole and causing his mouth to bleed. The rest of the party watches in shock at this devastating turn. Suddenly, he feels a surge of happiness and skillfully dodges Gil's attack, shouting with excitement as he observes everything with his clairvoyance. perfectly timed. Using his nullify power, he unlocks all the magic restraints, and the massive, monstrous Gil slowly reverts to the brave Gil-kun. Duke Frankst, overcome with emotion, rushes forward and hugs his son tightly. Seeing this, Fi cheers for the first time, celebrating his victory after all the stress and danger he endured.
Here I am, know it's been a while.